Good evening. The medical marijuana debate is igniting across North America. And believe it or not, one of the key battlegrounds is in the tiny community of McCann, Nova Scotia. A man there has been giving away a marijuana extract. Local residents are some of the thousands around the world who believe it is a cure for cancer and many other diseases. But now Rick Simpson is hiding out in Amsterdam, fearing if he returns home, he will be arrested on the spot. Here's Global's Devin Stevens.
And if I go back to Canada, they'll charge me and they'll put me in jail.
It all surrounds this thick black hemp oil. Rick Simpson has been making it from marijuana buds for years. But while in Amsterdam last week, RCMP raided his property.
And I know they won't give me bail because I'm like a three-time loser. And if I go to jail with no bail and no medicine, it'll probably kill me. Right. So I'm not willing to commit suicide for Mr. Harper.
This is the cure for cancer and a whole lot of other diseases.
His neighbor, Mark Allen, is just one of his many supporters from around the world. They say the oil floods the body with THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. The medicine has been grabbing headlines in cannabis magazines and is being called a cure-all.
Arthritis, bone cancer, melanoma, lung cancer, MS, diabetes, warts, moles, aneurysms.
He's not a drug dealer. And I know in this country here he has been made out to be one. He's really not. He just discovered something.
Simpson's supporters point to European medical studies as proof the hemp oil works. But it's still illegal to produce and distribute in Canada. And users are daring the medical community to prove them wrong.
What I'm telling the public is the truth. If it wasn't, somebody would come along and defrock me, wouldn't they? You know, some doctor would stand up and prove that I'm a fraud.
You could go and see all the people that have been treated with this medicine. You could watch people treating themselves, and you can see it.
Allen says Simpson has never sold him the oil, but gives it away for medicinal purposes. He says Simpson has helped about 2,500 people around the world.
All he ever asks is somebody to come and take a look at this medicine. And he has prolonged people's lives. I've watched it. And my brothers, they know, they watched my father come off his deathbed.
RCMP won't confirm that they raided Simpson's property last week, only that about 70 pounds of pot was seized from a property. And Simpson says that's his home. Devin Stevens, Global News, McCann, Nova Scotia.
Hello, my name is Mike Simpson, Rick Simpson's oldest son. On November 25th, 2009, approximately 10:30, I showed up to check on my father's property to find 3 unmarked police vehicles at the end of my father's driveway, an RCMP 4-wheel drive in the middle of my father's driveway. I pulled in the end of the driveway and walked towards the house. I got about halfway towards the house when I was surrounded by 9 police officers with their hands on their guns. I then asked them what the hell they were doing there. They said they were there to serve a warrant for cultivation of cannabis. I then told them they were standing on a 1,500-acre land grant, that my father's property is a country within a country, and that they had no right to be on that property. They then said that a judge had signed the warrant and they could do as they pleased. I told them I was the caretaker of their property and I wanted to see the warrant. They would not show it to me. I then asked each and every one of them for their business cards. They would not give me their business cards, which by their law they are required to do so. They then ran me off my family's land, and I was forced to watch them ransack my father's house from the end of his driveway. I watched them carry things out of his house that they had left from other raids on his property. After they were done ransacking my family's property, as they backed a trailer load of plastic junk and a fluorescent light shade out of the driveway, Officer Timmy Hunter came over to me, and I told him, in the past they had taken 2,800 marijuana plants off my father's property. He ended up with a $2,000 fine. I then asked Timmy Hunter what they thought they were going to accomplish with a trailer load of junk plastic that they had left the last time they had raided. He just stood there with a dumb look on his face, then asked me how I liked my Volkswagen car. As soon as they had left the property, I went into my dad's house to see how much damage was done. I was sickened by the damage. Before my father left for his trip, I installed a video surveillance system, which was clearly posted on every door and every window of the house. The police stole 3 cameras that were in plain sight for everyone to see. They did not have a warrant for surveillance gear that was legally posted, but they stole it anyway, in an attempt to cover their tracks, in my opinion. They tore the house apart looking for the recorder, but failed, because it wasn't in the house. The things they took didn't make any sense to me. They took a bag of noodles that my father had brought back from his last trip to Europe. They were hemp noodles, with a hemp leaf on the package. So right now, those noodles are in Alberta, being tested for THC. It's only going to cost the taxpayers $20,000 for the RCMP to find out they took a bag of noodles. The fact that they worked so hard to try to find anything to charge my dad with tells me the raid was nothing but a witch hunt, and that they would stop at no lengths to try and find something to charge my father with. It's been 2 weeks since the raid on my father's property, and still not one of the 5 stations involved will own up to what they did. So I had no choice but to upload some footage to prove that they were there. Let's see them try and say they weren't there now. People are told we live in a free country. When it's a crime to cure cancer, just what kind of country are we living in?
Around the same year that I was inspired to create the Cannabis Cup, I created a group of hemp activists called the Freedom Fighters because I'd met Jack Herrera and read a manuscript called The Emperor Wears No Clothes before it was published. Jack was one of the most inspiring people I ever met, and I was convinced that once the American people knew the truth about the economic benefits of this plant, that it would soon be legal. I don't know if you realize this, but just recently Jack suffered his second heart attack and was in a coma for about 2 weeks. And right before Jack had his heart attack, he called me on the phone. And he said that I needed to go do a story about Rick Simpson. Now, I had heard about this guy in Canada who said he was curing cancer with hash oil. But I didn't believe the story. But Jack called me, he said to me, Steve, the human evidence is out there. Marijuana fights cancer. And what Rick Simpson has done that is so important is that he's shown us that to get the full medicinal impact of this plant, you cannot smoke it. You must eat a lot of cannabinoids. And the easiest way to do that is to make oil and eat the oil. If you are seriously ill, you need to eat about 1 gram a day for 60 days. But when you're done, 70% of the cancer patients are cancer-free. Rick started giving away oil for free, growing it in his backyard. Hundreds of patients he treated for free. So the Canadian government arrested Rick Simpson, convicted him of being a drug dealer, and while he's at the Cannabis Cup now, just now, they have raided his property for the 3rd time and are prepared to arrest Rick again when he returns to Canada. It is unconscionable to treat a saint in this manner. Rick Simpson is the Freedom Fighter of the Year. Rick.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And look, it's a pleasure to be here at the Cup. I've met so many wonderful people. The seed companies, you know, DNA seeds, TH seeds, and all the rest of the guys, and Orion from Greenhouse. He brought me here. And I'll tell you right now, you haven't lived unless you've been on the back of a scooter with Orion at the wheel. That's a dangerous experience. But it was thrilling. The whole trip has been thrilling, and you know what a great event. But unfortunately, the way it stands right now, you see, 2 years ago, in November 30th, on my 58th birthday, they arrested me and they put me in jail for 4 days without my medicine. And if I go that length of time, I mean, if you had seen me at the end of the 4 days, of course the jail is a torture house. It's like it's so hot you can't sleep. My blood pressure was all out of whack. I mean, I looked in pretty bad shape after 4 days. So if I go back to Canada, that first thing, I mean, I've had 3 charges since 2005. So if I go back, I'll be arrested, or I'll be charged, put in jail, and probably denied bail. And that's about all it'll take, because it takes months for, you know, to get into the court system. So, I mean, that would kill me. So the only thing I can do is become an exile and seek political refuge in Europe, and that's what I plan to do. I can give them hell from here just as easy as I can from over there. But the problem here is, folks, there's people back in Canada that are, they're depending on me to save their lives and give them advice. And I can no longer do that now. But if anyone out there has cancer or a serious illness, go to our website, phoenixtears.ca, and look into the recipe. Make the medicine for your loved ones. It can save their life. It can change people's lives. So for God's sakes, make it. And if anybody out there has a couple bucks to send our way at Phoenix Tears, we sure appreciate it, because I don't know what the rest of Europe is like, but Amsterdam's quite expensive, but a wonderful city. Thank you very much, folks.